Welcome back, builders. I'm going to be showing you my method for windowing a piston for these standard China doll motors, PK80s, Zeda 80s, Wildcats, with the 47mm piston. Say you want to window your piston for a reed valve. This is how I do it. It's simple, it's quick, requires minimal tools, and will give you an optimum sized window without compromising the structure of the piston. I use these aluminum cutting bits. I'll leave a link in the description. I like using these for porting the cylinders, windowing the pistons, doing detailed work on the case. They cut through aluminum like butter. They do not require a lot of power, so it allows us to use a low power Dremel like this. This is a stylo, and I like these because they're easy to get into tight spaces and hold steady, and they have adjustable speed. So we'll start out with about a medium speed. And what we're going to do on the intake side of our piston, you'll know it's the intake side because it's the side with the two pins. There's the top piston ring pin, and the bottom one is hidden right there. 1, 2, so this is the intake side of the piston. We're going to flip it over, and you'll notice on both sides, the top and the bottom, there's pretty much a template already in the piston for your window. If you stay within these 4 lines, you'll be golden. So see, not sure how well it shows up in the camera, but the ones on the side are pretty obvious. They go all the way up. The one on the bottom is pretty obvious too. Now this little portion doesn't have it, but you can see right here where the piston is thicker. Use that as a line, just draw across. Don't go lower than that. Don't go outside of the walls on the side. And at the top, if it shows up in the camera, the piston gets thicker towards the top. You don't want to eat into that either. Stay within this template. So to get started, start up our Dremel. I'm wearing gloves and a long sleeve shirt because I don't like getting these metal aluminum shavings into my skin. They're like little splinters, and these bits, the way they cut the aluminum off, they can really cause them to dig in. Not the end of the world. So get a nice steady grip. I'm going to try and do this, make sure that you guys can see everything going on. I don't usually do this on camera, so hopefully you don't miss too much. Here's the bit I'm using to start out with, by the way. Now we're just going to start right in the middle of this. Doesn't have to be perfect because we can fix it up as we go. I'm going to start right about in the middle and start cutting through, okay? Try and hold it steady. Do not let it jump around. If you do lose it and it kind of nicks the inside of the piston here, it's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. This isn't like the cylinder walls. But doing it from the inside of the piston makes this job a lot safer if you do slip. Turn up our speed now that we got it started. Making good progress, but I'm going to go ahead and switch to a more aggressive bit. This one should do a better job removing meat. You can see we've poked through, making plenty of progress. We'll go ahead and wipe off some of this excess so we can make sure that we're still well within the lines. Looking good. We want to make sure we don't go outside these lines. We don't need a giant window. That's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they make the window way too big. Now that I've got the hole a little bit bigger, I went back to my less aggressive bit, just so it's not as likely to catch and jump. Alright, we got a hole. It's just about big enough to go ahead and start cleaning it out from the outside. So we'll go ahead and do that. You don't want to push it in too far, because if you do and it contacts all sides of the bit, it's probably going to jump on you. So just try and open this up a little bit wider, a little bit at a time. You're only doing a little bit from this point of view. After we get it opened up enough to make sure that the bit won't jump around, we're gonna pretty much work from the outside but watch from the inside. Okay, so let's get this opened up a bit more. All right, so from here, turn the piston over. Hopefully you guys can see this, and we're going to watch this side to make sure we stay inside the lines and work from the outside. This is just how I do it. If you don't feel comfortable this way, you can keep working from the inside. It's safer. It'll take a little bit longer, but this allows me to make nice clean lines along this template. So I'm going to pause the video here and remove some more material, so we'll be back. We're making good progress. Alright, so we're making good progress. By the way, wear a mask when you do this. You don't want to breathe this crap in. Just take it off to talk to you guys. Alright, we're making good progress. About 80% of the way there. A little bit higher, a little bit lower. Clean up the sides. She's coming along nicely. Let's keep going. That is looking, that is looking pretty good. I can bring it a little bit lower. I'm happy with the height. I don't really want to go much higher than that. I'm just about at the thicker portion of the piston anyways. So I'm thinking I'll bring it a tiny bit lower and then just clean it up and we'll be done. So I'll be back when I'm done. It's almost like art, just cleaning it up and trying to make it look as symmetrical as possible. Now, obviously, you don't have to have a perfect looking window. You just want the piston to maintain its structural integrity. This is about it. That's all I do. This is actually a little bit larger than I make it. Normally, I make them just a little bit shorter, but this is fine. I've run a couple just like this, had no issues. And that's all you really need. You don't need gigantic windows coming way out to the side, filling in the entire intake port. It just weakens the piston, and you don't really see a performance gain. Now, obviously, this is only for motors that will be running a reed valve, okay? If you do this to your piston without a reed valve, it won't start at all. So, keep that in mind, obviously. Now, a nice little benefit of doing this, removing this little bit of extra weight from the piston on most motors will actually smooth them out, as the cranks are not weighed perfectly to match these pistons. So by removing a little bit of material, you'll actually have a smoother running motor without a balanced crank. But if you balance your crank, this is something you might want to take into consideration for high RPMs. Anyways, that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, running a reed valve, for me, I prefer piston port. I've run reeds and piston ports, and on these motorized bikes where they were designed to run piston ports, adding a reed valve and windowing your piston, trying to get performance, doesn't really do much, if anything at all. It does help with fuel efficiency though. Not really a big deal on these motors. But I've been playing around with it mainly because if you add a boost port, then you actually get a noticeable difference in performance. Now, the height and width and angle of your boost port that's going to be something for you to experiment with. But this is the same cylinder and piston that hit 52 miles an hour on flat ground. No downhills. We don't pretend to be fast on this channel. Yeah, this is the 52 mile an hour cylinder and piston. So now we finally added the window to it. The reason I got away with running a reed valve without a window on it before is because we trenched the cylinder here. Now with the window you don't really need to trench it, but you should still consider adding a boost port to actually take advantage of it. That's it. Now next we need to clean it up, because if you run your finger along it, you're going to feel there's a lip. So we got to deburr this. We don't have to do the inside. I'm going to do both sides, mainly focusing on the outside, just so there's no little loose pieces of aluminum that fall off into the motor. They're so small it probably wouldn't matter, but still a good thing not to have happen. But we definitely need to remove the burrs from the outside of the piston so it doesn't dig into our cylinder lining. I guess on mine it really doesn't matter because this boost port actually runs along, this window actually runs along this trench. So for me it wouldn't really matter, but I'm still just going to do it anyways because you guys should. So I've got some 320 grit. You could probably get away with just about anything that's not too abrasive. Let's say stay above 200, you'll be fine. 200 to 400, I'll do the trick. Make quick work out of it. Nice. Yeah, she's pretty much ready. Now we would take it and hit it with some parts cleaner, an air hose. Make sure we get all of this metal out of the piston thoroughly. See how it's gotten in here between the rings, so you're going to want to take your rings off, clean the rings, clean these grooves. Make sure you get everything out of the circlip grooves. All the metal needs to come off of this piston before it goes back in the motor. And that's it, guys. That's pretty much all there is to it. So I hope this was helpful. This all together took me about 45 minutes. So I was taking my time and I took a break to get some coffee. That's it, less than an hour and you should have a decent window on your piston. That should give you good results. Hope this was helpful. Ride safe.